It's the final moments before that crucial verdict is out in Jayalalitha's disproportionate assets case, a case which is 18 years old now. Those are visuals of the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister arriving at the special court in Bangalore that has been set up at the Paranpanna Agrahara prison complex. The special court, Judge Dikuna, will be pronouncing the verdict in a short while from now. In fact, let me go across first to Editor South T.S. Sudhir. He's stationed outside that special court. Sudhir, just a few moments now, give us a sense of how the anxiety is really building up in the final moments.
Well, yes, just about 10 minutes ago is when Tamil Nadu Chief Minister arrived at this special court in a convoy of about 20 cars. Yes, there is a lot of anxiety. In fact, a whole lot of AIDMK leaders and cadres have not been let inside the court. There was some commotion because they obviously wanted to be present when the verdict was being read out against their leader. So definitely a lot of anxiety because of what could possibly happen in the political theatre of Tamil Nadu as a result of the verdict. Of course, if she's acquitted, there will be jubilation. There is also a school of thought that she could even actually go in for fresh elections to take advantage of the mood in Tamil Nadu. But the big but is, if she is convicted, depending on the quantum of sentencing, that's what they are really worried about, because if she has to resign as the Chief Minister, who would really take over and what it would really do to the party? Yes, as analyst Suman C. Raman was pointing out, it's a party where she has a completely total grip over the party. There isn't really a clear number two in the party. So in that sense, Jayalalithaa, even if she's not the Chief Minister, will continue to rule by proxy. She will be the remote control Chief Minister. Now, is that something which the people of Tamil Nadu will be comfortable with? That's a crucial question, given that the assembly elections are in 2016 and the DMK will look at this as an opportunity.
Absolutely, eyeing this as an opportunity. Mr. Nani Sankran, a political analyst, now joins us live from Chennai. Thanks so much, Mr. Sankran, for taking out time for headlines today. I want to ask you a direct question. You know, no matter what the verdict is today, in a short while from now, but you know, would you agree with the fact that Jayalalithaa is the invincible force in the politics of Tamil Nadu?
She has been invincible in the recent past, but this court judgment, if it goes against her, could change the situation, weaken her over a period of time, if not immediately. In case she is convicted and sent to prison, then she can rule by proxy for 2 years. But she can't contest the next elections, which means again she has to put somebody else there, and this can slowly weaken her position over a period, and DMK and BJP in Tamil Nadu would start gaining slowly. So she is invincible at the moment, but the conviction is there. She could start getting weakened slowly, if not immediately.
A constitutional position, because the previous convictions of politicians that we have seen were of people who were in opposition. Correct me if I'm wrong, and Javed, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, this perhaps will be for the first time that a person in power could perhaps be convicted of wrongdoing in a corruption case.
Yes, in Lalu, he was out of power. Mr. Rashid Masood had ceased being a Mr. Rashid Masood was just an MP, so therefore I'm not so sure. I can't recall instantly if there's if a sitting minister or a chief minister has been convicted of corruption.
All right, so I would like to come to Mr. Gaurang Kant. Mr. Gaurang Kant, what can be the constitutional position, you know, in the wake of an adverse court proceeding? Suppose if the court comes up with you know, a conviction in this particular case, what really is going to be the constitutional position that would be followed? Because remember, we are talking about a chief minister of a state here.
See, you would see that earlier the Supreme Court was, there's a judgment which has come from the Supreme Court where the 8(4) of the Representation of People Act, you know, that the person who's convicted immediately has to demit office and he ceases to be a member of the Legislative Assembly or the Parliament, and the protection which was given earlier in the Act is no longer there, where people could continue till the time the appeal is pending before the court. That has been done away with. So I think it is a blow which would be immediately seen, and you know, the repercussions of that would be immediate on the fate of Jayalalithaa.
All right. In fact, so help us understand also
that as far as Jayalalithaa is concerned, if there is a conviction, then in that case, what is the procedure? Will a new chief minister be installed? Will this particular party continue to rule till the next assembly elections? For the benefit of our viewers, if you could just tell what exactly constitutionally happens in case of verdict.
Well, yes, definitely the party definitely remains in power, and it is only the party would decide that who would be the successor to Ms. Jayalalithaa. And she would definitely not be at the helm of affairs, but then definitely the party can come up with any other leader who would step in. So constitutionally, the party remains in power. It is one of the persons in the party who has to step down because of if she gets convicted. But otherwise, the party remains in power, and the party can always pick anybody else who can be in position.
Okay. Before I come across to you, Mr. Raman, let me quickly go across to Editor South T.S. Sudhir. Now, Sudhir, just take us through why such a massive security apparatus. Yes, she is a high-profile leader. Yes, there is a threat to her life. Yes, there is a lot of security that revolves around her in Chennai as well as in Delhi. But in this particular case, in the past 18 years, we have seen that Jayalalithaa and her security has been, has formed the bedrock as far as her defense is concerned. Even yesterday, she appealed in front of the Supreme Court, where she said that she should be exempted from appearing in person because of security reasons.
Well, one of the reasons, Sanket, why this case verdict was actually postponed by a week was because she said that she feared threats to her life from Mullaperiyar Dam activists and LTTE cadre in particular, while the Bangalore police says there is no intelligence input to indicate that there is any such specific threat if she comes to Bangalore. Obviously, they can't take a chances. One, because she's a Z+ category politician, a serving chief minister who is under obvious threat as far as LTTE cadres are concerned in the state of Tamil Nadu. But also importantly, the Karnataka police has been extremely on tenterhooks given the fact that the state of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu have been involved in a Kaveri dispute. So they wouldn't really want anything of this sort to be polarized on state lines. Any of those maverick politicians taking advantage of a situation like this, wherein a Tamil Nadu chief minister, a Tamil Nadu politician, the verdict is given in a court in Karnataka, they really wouldn't want to take any chances, which is why bus services has been completely suspended between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu from 6 o'clock this morning, and they want to ensure complete foolproof security to Jayalalithaa to ensure nothing untoward happens, because if that happens, they realize the repercussions could be tremendous and the damage would be a lot. So obviously they want to ensure that while she's in the state of Karnataka in Bangalore, she's absolutely safe.
And Sudhir, you were also reporting earlier in the day that there are about 6,000 police personnel in a very limited area around the Parappan Agrahara prison. Just take us through the security system that has been put in place.
MLAs and supporters.
Well, this entire security complex, this is a court which is about 25 kilometers from the heart of Bangalore, if you were to take MG Road as the heart of Bangalore, and this is near the Bangalore Central Prison. Now, this makeshift court, which has been specially prepared for Jayalalitha's verdict, obviously in a sanitized area, which is why you have 5 layers of security, in which apart from her Z+ security personnel, there is the Rapid Action Force, there is a Karnataka City Police Force, there is a Karnataka Reserve State Police Force, apart from paramilitary forces. So obviously these 5 rings of security to ensure that nothing untoward takes place. Apart from this, all through the 10-kilometer stretch from this prison complex to the HAL airport, the entire area was declared a green corridor. Nobody allowed to get onto that. So no traffic allowed for more than half an hour while she landed at HAL airport and drove down to the Parappan Agrahara special court complex. So in that sense, Bangalore coming to a standstill. And in fact, the interesting part is that Bangalore is also resembling Chennai in many ways, because there are a whole lot of Amma posters which have been put up by AIDMK activists all along the route.
Now, Sudhir, before I let you go, I believe you'll also need to try to figure out what actually happened inside the court. You said that around 10:45 to 11 is when that verdict will come out. It's already 11:02. Can you just tell us what is taking the delay? What is the procedure that was supposed to be followed inside that makeshift court today?
Yeah, well, what I'm told is that, one, of course, Jayalalithaa arrived on the dot at 10:45 a.m. The judge had arrived about 20 to 25 minutes before that. What we are told is that the judge will actually read out all the charges against the 4 accused in this particular disproportionate assets case. He will also ascertain that all the 4 of them are present in court, and only after that the verdict will be read out. So that process could actually take anywhere between 15 minutes to 45 minutes.
So do we know the sequence? Do we know the sequence? Do we know how the court is going to start reading out its judgment? First, will it be against Sasikala Natarajan, Ilavarasi, or Jayalalitha's disowned foster son Sudhakaran. Will Jayalalitha's judgment be read out last?
Well, all the four, we do not know what order he actually takes, because all the four are accused in this particular case. All the four are prime accused in this disproportionate assets case. So after ascertaining that they're present in the court, reading out all the charges which have been listed against them, and only after that he will actually read out the verdict against them. So that's what we are told. Not too sure in what order the judgment will actually be read out. But yes, a whole lot of both AIDMK, DMK lawyers are inside the court. Because of the jammers, you really cannot get communication out in a jiffy, because the jammers from the prison complex ensure that the mobile phones of most of them will actually not be working. So probably each one of them will have to physically come out, and only then we'll probably know what the verdict in this particular high-profile case has been.
Now, Javed, if you remember, in the past we have in fact seen that whether it was the Om Prakash Chautala case of the recruitment scam in which he was in fact convicted, or the fodder scam, the infamous fodder scam in which Lalu Prasad Yadav was convicted, there was a huge political repercussion that we saw. We also saw that the party used it to mobilize also, perhaps to gain some sort of a sympathy among the voters, a sympathy wave among the voters. Do you think that the things are going to be absolutely similar in this case as well? Because we are talking about Jayalalitha, a politician.
Well, obviously, trust politicians to use every opportunity to try and even convert adversity into an opportunity. I'm sure if, and again I underline the word if she's convicted, the AIDMK will use this to try and garner sympathy. But in the long run, whether this will play out, whether this will insulate her from any kind of political repercussions, I'm not so sure. Because if indeed she is convicted, she will have to go to jail. She has she will certainly go in for an appeal to the High Court, but she will first of all have to go to jail. She will have to demit office, and till her conviction is moved, she will not be able to hold office. She can rule by proxy from jail, as Lalu did in the case where Rabdi was concerned, but nonetheless her power will be diminished, and if she's in jail for a long haul, then it will give her opponents, the DMK and all the others, a chance to encroach in. And let's not forget, the BJP believes that it's in with a chance. It wants to muscle in. It's trying to contact other leaders. So a lot of things at play here. It will take time for all this to come together.
But Javed, what is going to be interesting, and we'll get T.S. Sudhir on this particular point. Now, T.S. Sudhir, the point that I actually wanted to ask you were the merits of this particular case. The chances of this particular case ending up in an acquittal or a conviction. What really has been the, the argument, the prosecution's case, the defense case? Why would the Jayalalitha camp feel that they could in fact be acquitted?
Well, the very fact that during those 5 years as Chief Minister between 1991 and 96, she was saying that she was drawing a monthly salary of just 1 rupee, and then to declare an assets of 66 crore rupees in 1996 obviously went against her, because she had assets of only about 33 crore rupees in 1991. So that kind of increase in her assets went disproportionate to the known sources of income, and that's something which was not very properly explained. Of course, Jayalalitha tried to say that many of these were actually joint property along with Shashikala, Ilavarasi and Sudhakaran, and the entire thing did not belong to her. But the fact that they actually acquired land in Tirunelveli, in Kodanad, in the Nilgiris Hills, and the fact that they had 20 crore rupees in cash, all those things were not sufficiently explained, which is why the prosecution does believe that they have a strong case in this particular case against the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha, that she has not been able to sufficiently explain, satisfactorily explain the increase in her assets from 3 crores to 66 crore rupees plus in a matter of 5 years, when she was not earning that kind of money. And also significantly, Shashikala had described herself as a mushroom farmer in this during that period. So did she really have those kind of income to be able to acquire those kind of assets? So in that sense, the prosecution does believe that they have a strong case. As far as Jayalalitha's lawyers are concerned, and many of them have been changed over the last 18 years, do believe that it is a politically motivated case, because it was filed when the DMK came to power, and many of the things have not probably been taken into account, is what their argument is. Perhaps the court may take cognizance of it, or perhaps it may find the whole argument extremely feeble. Probably we'll know in a few minutes' time what the judge in this special court really thinks about this particular case.
Absolutely. Mr. Raman is with us from Jaipur. Mr. Raman, sorry to keep you waiting for so long, but the information that we are getting at this moment is that perhaps the opposition in Tamil Nadu is sharpening its knives even as the verdict is actually pronounced in Parappan Agrahara in Bangalore. We are getting this information, Mr. Raman, that Stalin is at Karunanidhi's residence in Chennai, perhaps watching the proceedings very, very closely. Just tell us or take us through the political implications of what is going to happen now that we know that the DMK is very, very keenly watching the developments.
Well, obviously the DMK will be very keenly watching these developments. After all, they have been at the forefront of this particular case, right, for the last 18 years. So obviously, and being sworn political opponents, they would be having the greatest interest in seeing an adverse verdict come out of this. But you've got to understand the political situation in Tamil Nadu today. I think one thing that we are missing is the fact that the re-election of the AIA-DMK government in 2016 is also to a large extent dependent on the kind of governance that the public perceive that they have provided. Now, one may argue with whether some of these schemes are the right things to do in terms of giving out subsidies and so on. But the fact is, many of these schemes, whether it is the Amma canteens or some of the other schemes, they proved to be enormously popular. And there is a general perception that many of these schemes have trickled down to the people. Now, you have to, I think we're missing a point here when we say that, politically she would be weakened. First, she's in complete control of the party. So whoever, in case there is an adverse verdict, there is going to be a hand-picked successor and she's going to continue to call the shots, and I don't think the people have any illusions on that at all. So between now and 2016, there is time to approach the courts for an appeal in case there is an adverse verdict. And two, most importantly, I think we are forgetting about the quality of governance or the perception of the quality of governance that they provided. And except for the power situation where there is still some unhappiness in the state in terms of that has not been completely resolved yet, and their power cuts are back in the last couple of weeks and so on. So except for that, there is a perception that there has been a reasonably good quality of governance that this government has provided. And I think that is what we have to look at, because the people of Tamil Nadu, the parties which are ranged against her, whether it is the BJP or whether it's the DMK, what is the kind of, what are they going to go back and tell the people? One, yes, the power situation, and I know that the AIDMK government takes that extremely seriously. They know they have to fix it in the next 1.5 years. So that is very, very clear. But over and above that, there aren't too many major issues with which the opposition has been able to beat the AIDMK government with. So that is the first part. Second part is, as far as the BJP itself is concerned, and their position has remained quite inconsistent. In fact, 2 weeks ago on the eve of the local body election, there was the BJP state president in Tamil Nadu making an appeal asking the DMK and, believe it or not, asking the Congress to vote for it, because the DMK and the Congress were not contesting in the local body election. So they said, why not you support the BJP against the AIDMK? And we all know what the results were in that. So you have to understand that for the BJP, it's essentially a very, very small player in Tamil Nadu still that 4%, 5% of the vote. What happened in the Lok Sabha elections was a largely Modi effect when their vote share went up. And apart from that seat that they won in their traditional base, they were not able to expand their base very significantly despite the Modi effect. So you have to understand it from the DMK's perspective. The party needs issues. They need something more substantial to beat the AIDMK government with. And at this point of time, except for the power situation, the DMK really doesn't have anything. Okay. And I don't see the DMK being well equipped to go to town accusing the AIDMK of corruption.
That's a very nice analysis.
With a barrage of cases.
After 18 years, we could in fact expect a verdict in the disproportionate assets case. Remember, it has taken quite long. This is a case that has gone on for close to 18 years. There have in fact been 5 judges who have in fact heard this entire case over the course of the past 18 years. The case pertains to, the disproportionate assets case. Jayalalithaa being charged of accumulating 66 crore rupees wealth disproportionate to her known sources of income. Apart from her, there are 3 more accused in this particular case. Her close aide Sasikala Natarajan, her niece Ilavarasi, as well as Jayalalitha's disowned foster son Sudhakaran. it will be also interesting to see what really will be the legal options that Jayalalithaa or the AIADMK may choose to explore. We know for a fact that Bangalore, as well as the entire state of Karnataka, particularly Bangalore, has been converted into a virtual fortress. We also know that there are politically hectic meetings taking place in Chennai in the other camp, that is the DMK. Stalin has gone to meet Karunanidhi at his house, of course, very keenly observing what is going to happen in Bangalore. Remember, it's an 18-year-old battle and a very high-stake battle that has in fact taken place. So all eyes will be on the Parappan Agrahara court compound, what exactly the court is going to decide. Initially, what we were told is that the court is going to decide around 10:45 the decision on Jayalalithaa and the other three accused. It is 11:15. We are expecting that the court is reading out its judgment, and that could take a little bit more time. Let me quickly go across to T.S. Sudhir, who joins us from outside the Parappan Agrahara complex. Now, Sudhir, what are the legal options in case the verdict is unfavorable for Jayalalithaa?
Well, obviously there are two options. If the conviction is for a period of less than 3 years, she did not resign. She obviously will have to resign as Chief Minister and MLA, but she will not need to go to jail, and she can actually apply for bail and be outside prison. But in case if she is convicted for a period of more than 3 years, and that's where it's going to be extremely critical, because not only she have to resign as Chief Minister and MLA of the Tamil Nadu Assembly, she will also have to go behind bars, and that could actually alter the political equation dramatically in the state of Tamil Nadu, because yes, while someone else from the AIADMK or perhaps even outside the AIADMK could be nominated to the post of the Chief Minister by Jayalalithaa herself, the party supremo, but if she actually goes inside bars for a period of more than 3 years, that could actually give some kind of a lease of life to the DMK, because yes, the DMK has also been battling corruption charges, but Tamil Nadu is a state which has kind of always alternated between the DMK and the AIADMK. So the DMK would fancy its chances in 2016, and if it can actually build up its case in 2016, projecting someone like Stalin as its leader, as its chief ministerial candidate, they would actually fancy their chances, and that's something which is worrying the AIADMK cadres at the moment. So more than the conviction, they are actually looking at the quantum of sentencing, because that's what they believe would really be the X factor.
Okay, that's a very significant point that you have in fact made, Sudhir, that the quantum of punishment is what actually is going to be of interest to the AIADMK than the actual verdict. But of course, the verdict also really matters for the AIADMK, because it could tilt the fortunes of the AIADMK either exponentially or the other way around. But we'll keep a close eye on what actually is going to happen inside that court. In the meanwhile, we are also joined in by political analyst Mr. Raman from Jaipur. Mr. Raman, you were actually mentioning just a short while ago how significant this particular verdict is actually going to be. How a second in command must have already been thought of, the procedure must have already been made. We were also discussing the fact that AIADMK is pretty much a single woman party. She is the one who decides what is actually going to be in the party. Just take us through the political journey that could flow from here on.
Yeah, I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to understand the kind of structure of a party like the AIADMK. It's unlike most other political parties in India, where you have many other political parties have undisputed leaders, but then there is some level of second-rung leadership who could be, you could have people who are called senior ministers and so on. But the AIADMK in that sense is quite different, because except possibly for Mr. O. Pannirselvam, who took over when Ms. Jayalalithaa last had to step down in 2001, there have been very few people who have had some kind of a permanent run as senior ministers in a Jayalalithaa government. So you've got to understand that also is the party's greatest strength, because they go to town telling the public that we are not like the other political parties where there are dynasties and the district secretary, his son and his grand. In fact, the classic example they point out is the DMK, where between about 20-25 families virtually control the party. So the fundamental difference in the party is itself the fact that anybody from the grassroots worker can hope to make it big in state politics, can hope to become a minister, can hope to hold high office. So I think that is what keeps the party workers and cadre motivated. And that has also built a kind of very strong loyalty towards Ms. Jayalalithaa. And the question of a challenge to her leadership, irrespective of what happens in this case, simply does not arise, because the party in fact, if you go around Tamil Nadu and ask the names of the ministers, I would say the public would not know more than 5 or 6 names. The rest of the cabinet is just not known to the people. People do not even know who they are. So you must understand that, and the same applies to the candidates whom they vote for. They vote for Ms. Jayalalithaa and and the party. That's it. So you have to understand that that is the kind of a structure that exists within the AIADMK, and having this kind of a structure in the AIADMK means that there is no, and even now the rumors, I mean, and this of course obviously in case of hypothetically that there is an adverse verdict, the rumors are that Mr. Pannirselvam may not necessarily be picked this time to step in, and we could see somebody else coming in. So fundamentally the power equation within the party is not going to change. Obviously, they have another 18 months to 20 months before the next elections, in which they have to deliver on the remaining poll promises, and also on the power situation in particular. And if they do succeed in doing that, I think that is really going to be the big factor to decide whether the party gets re-elected. Because before this court verdict, not just 3 months ago, if there was an opinion poll which was conducted, and most analysts were predicting that the AIADMK would come back to power in 2016 quite comfortably. Now, the only way that may not happen is, of course, if all the opposition parties join together and create a grand alliance, and of course the AIADMK slips up between now and 2016. But I also want to draw the analogy to another example, and the classical example that we've had is that of Dr. Manmohan Singh and Sonia Gandhi. What happened for 10 years? Now, tell me, would it have been different if Ms. Sonia Gandhi had not been a member of the Lok Sabha? I don't believe so. And I think that you have to look at the analogy that we have. We have something which worked for 10 years. Whether it worked well, whether it worked badly, that's a different issue. But practically there has been a similar example. And the AIADMK is, if at all there could be a party that is even more tightly centrally controlled than the Congress party, it is the AIADMK. So I don't believe that an adverse verdict, should it come about, is going to dramatically alter anything in the near term. Yes, obviously it's a political setback. Nobody would call a conviction a feather in the cap. It's obviously a political setback. But fundamentally, I don't believe it's going to alter equations on the ground as far as the public are concerned. And one thing I would suggest is maybe after the verdict, if there is an acquittal, of course, there is no issue. But if there is an adverse verdict, then maybe an opinion poll will tell you what the people of Tamil Nadu think. And you will find that her support base will remain intact. There may even be some element of sympathy which adds